Who, a Doctor Who podcast, Series 8, Episode 4, Listen. I am your host, Molly Southgate, and with me is...
Martha Southgate.
And...
Rob Southgate. All right, before we jump into this one, I want to have Molly talk about something that happened on the last episode. When we were watching that, and they were showing all the Robin Hoods. They were showing,
Yes.
Remember they were flashing back and showing them? You said on the last podcast that you thought one of them looked like who?
The Master.
The Master. So tell us what happened.
I looked it up in my Doctor Who encyclopedia. It was the Salamander.
Right.
And Dad looked it up on his phone. It was the same actor that played the second Doctor on Doctor Who, and the Salamander on Doctor Who.
Right. So you had the amazing
Well, even
eye.
better is that he played Robin Hood on a British
Right,
show.
a BBC Robin Hood show in 1953.
And
that image they used was from the 1953 Robin
it was
Hood.
the exact image. So she nailed it.
You nailed
So
it.
big. I don't know how in the heck you spotted that. And
So
he
this-
doesn't look like him.
No, but the second Doctor played Robin Hood on that show,
Yeah.
and then they showed him in that montage. That was
So it was
awesome,
Salamander.
Molly.
If anybody knows the old episodes, he was Salamander.
Yes.
right.
So
And
I
the
bet
second Doctor.
Salamander is probably going to be in this one series, probably.
I think he's dead.
But
Oh yeah, he is.
but who knows? Who knows?
Oh yeah, Salamander is. he
But
was
is anybody
pushing to
really dead? I mean,
space
if he
void.
goes back in time, he could run into the
Oh.
Salamander.
Okay.
I mean, you don't know.
We don't know.
That could have been a clue to
But
something.
it was a brilliant spot.
Yes.
I mean, how the heck from a flash of an image,
Right.
how you got that, Molly? I will never.
Yeah, amazing.
I will
So
never
this
know.
time I had my encyclopedia right in front of me the whole time. So I'm like, okay, this, look it up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You are becoming quite the Who expert, aren't you?
the hexpert.
No. Expert.
Oh, Hookspert is better.
Oh,
A
that sounds
hexpert.
bad too. A whospert?
Ew.
Oh.
All right. Can we just move on here?
Okay.
No, a Hookspert.
Yes.
Okay. Now we need to put a disclaimer on this episode.
Yes.
Okay. So this episode is Listen.
Contains nudity
No.
and nose picking.
Not at all.
Okay.
But in the last week's episode, we had seen this preview, and we said we're not sure what we're going to be able to do with this if it's too scary for our 7-year-old to be watching.
Right.
Yeah,
Molly,
because
this
two
was
adults said, these are my worst fears from the preview. Do not watch it.
right.
Yes.
And Molly, we almost did this without you if
Yeah.
it had been that
It could
scary.
have been that scary. So what happened was Rob
That
and
would have
I,
been bad.
Right.
Rob and I watched the episode alone
Uh-huh.
the night it aired.
Yes.
And then what we decided was, what we sort of landed on was if she saw the end, we figured if we started with the end,
Yes.
the scene with Clara
Right. That
in the barn,
explains
Uh-huh.
the story.
what would happen then is that we could then go back to the beginning and she would watch it going, oh, it's not scary because
Right.
I know what happens. And that's exactly how we did it. And
yeah, and we had a very fun time
Molly,
watching
were
it
you
that way.
scared at all during this episode?
No.
But wait till we get to what I have to say about this episode.
Was there what the creepy part was? What was the creepiest part for you?
I don't know.
Was
any of it scary?
No.
what?
Do you
what
think it
about
would have
the
been
blanket?
if you didn't know about Clara?
Whoa.
Wait,
That's a whole other story.
Okay.
That would have been so scary.
yes,
Right.
but because you watched the end, it took away all your fear, right? Because you knew.
Right.
But what did you think of the blanket?
Okay. That was scary.
Right.
Yeah,
That
not
there-
terrifying. Like you
No,
didn't
but
hide
it
your
was
face.
it was scary. It was
but it
pretty
was
intense.
unsettling.
Yes.
And you thought it was a weeping angel.
Yeah, because they're like, don't look, but give it what it wants. Don't look at it. And it was coming up behind them.
Yeah, but see, if you don't look at a weeping angel, they hurt you. This didn't hurt them.
Oh, they grab you and they take you to some place.
Yeah. Now, I read, right after this episode aired, I read a couple of different things about the episode where people were throwing their theories out about this.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, one was, I heard somebody else said the weeping angel because you couldn't look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one said they thought it was the silence because he says it's the silence at the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
He makes that reference. But you know what? that wasn't the silence.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you see the silence, you can't you like see them and you're like, oh my gosh, and as soon as you turn away, you forget that you ever saw them. There was nothing in this indicating that.
Yeah,
okay,
that's true.
But I do want to talk about this thing under the covers because.
Do you mean you want to be under the covers while you talk about it?
Yes, you might want to be when I'm done.
Or do you mean
because
you want to talk about the thing under the covers?
Other people have been giving their hypothesis that it was the doctor himself. I heard that one as a little boy, like he was there and he could quell his fears.
Okay,
he could see what happened there. He'd be on the opposite end of it, seeing it.
Could have been a kid from somewhere in the
right.
orphanage.
Here's what I think.
Later
I don't think any of that is accurate.
Okay.
I really think that what we saw there, this was the first time we're running into something new. I think when the doctor at the very beginning, and remember his chalk fell and then it said listen up on the board, I think that was him. He wrote listen. He, whatever happened there. But I think what we saw here was not just that. I think there was something really in that room because we saw the covers come off it and they kept it out of focus.
It was blurry.
And it looked like it was kind of an alien, kind of baldish, but it had ridges sort of. And I went, no, that doesn't look like hair. I think that it is something. I think when he's saying, when you're alone and you're talking to yourself, you're not really talking to yourself. I think that was it. It reminded me of, there's a story by Clive Barker.
I'm never going to talk to myself again.
No, it's fine. There's a story by this author, Clive Barker.
It's just a show.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But,
can you take a joke?
No.
He wrote a story called The Yattering, about a guy that has a little creature that's causing trouble for him. And he keeps saying, oh, something's messing with my life. Something is, hiding my keys and doing all this. And then it turns out that the Yattering is something real. Okay. When I was watching this, I thought, that's the Yattering. Whatever that was is this show's version of the Yattering. It was something real. I think that later on we're going to find out about it. I also have other theories as we go forward, but I'll lay it there.
When they were in the orphanage and the doctor was in the security guard's office. And
I loved it when all of a sudden you look at the coffee's gone and the doctor, la la la.
Yeah,
I love it. I love those scenes where it's like all of a sudden something is like rustling and stuff, and then all of a sudden the doctor, where's this guy?
Right.
What's going on?
Well, what he said, he goes, has your coffee ever disappeared? And he's like, well, yeah, sometimes. And then it was gone, and then it was the doctor doing it. That was hilarious. Oh yeah, where's Wally?
He said, where's Wally? And they're like, you mean Waldo? He's not in some of the books. And he's like, exactly my point. And they're like, you never said anything about
Well, yeah, because Rupert was saying he's not in every book. I mean,
right.
It's just, he's only in a couple. He was getting mad that he wasn't.
So Rupert, okay. So let's talk about what happens.
Let's start
yeah,
at the beginning.
We're not going to really go in order here, but we'll just kind of talk it out. So it starts out with Clara on a date with Danny, the teacher, soldier
Danny
teacher. Pink. Yeah. And as usual, it's not really going well. It starts out like it's okay.
The date went?
Not good.
Yeah. Well, what happened? Do you remember?
They're talking, and all of a sudden, she was making a joke, and he got mad because she was saying something about his past and the killing thing.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, she's absolutely right.
No, that's the second one, wasn't it? It was in the first one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was absolutely right.
Okay, well, I'll edit that.
Yeah, honey, you were right.
Okay, and then...
Well, do you want me to tell you the line?
Yeah.
Because what happened was...
Because I'm already confused.
What happened was she said something about this girl in the class, one of the students they share.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, there are times that I could just kill her." And Danny said, "Oh, so could I." And
guess what? She said something about her face being too wide.
Well, yeah, that was funny.
It. And then later on, the doctor says,
"Oh, they all kept saying it." Yeah.
Yeah.
So she
said she needs 3 mirrors for her big face.
Okay.
So funny.
If I may, finish my point. So she said that they share this student, and she said I could kill her. sometimes. And he said, oh, so could I. And she said, that means a lot coming from you.
Right.
So she was calling him a killer.
Right. Well, that seems to be the theme here. That not only was a soldier, but he has had to kill.
But harsh.
He seems very
He was
upset
extremely
by this.
defensive.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I have built wells. I did a lot for these communities. I saved a lot of people.
Right. He said he dug 23
and
wells.
And she was like, well,
saved so many lives.
You know, I'm sure they were wonderful wells, you know.
Right.
So she was upset that he was offended by her comment. You know what?
Because she was just making a joke.
It wasn't a funny joke.
Right.
And for him, that's something that's really personal, and that he clearly has an issue that he had to even make that choice.
Right.
And so for somebody to make fun of it and call him a killer is very hurtful. And so I fully support his reaction.
I do too. I mean, he's very sensitive to it. He could probably use a little therapy about this. But at the same time, her joke was not appropriate. It fell flat. It just didn't work. And then she got mad at him and she left.
Yes.
And then he banged his head on the table, which is what we saw him do the last time, right?
I love it when he bangs his head on the table.
When Clara gets home, where's the
gosh,
doctor?
Who's waiting for her?
He's staring at the mirrors. She's trying to squeeze through. He's like, oh, just squeeze through.
He's in her bedroom.
Yeah,
right.
And the TARDIS is parked right in the doorway. And he's like, oh, just squeeze through. And she's like, ugh.
Right.
So funny.
That's where
and
he
he's
said.
looking in the 3 mirrors.
That's where he said, "Why do you have 3 mirrors?" And then later on is when he said it's because she's got a big face.
Well, and then he says, well, you already took your makeup off, and she said, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Well, you just missed a little bit. That you missed a few spots then." And she was like, "What?" I mean, they're just so mean to her. Everybody on that show is Strax, Matt Smith.
Oh, yep. Matt Smith was the worst.
What did he do?
In the one episode, he became like a cyborg, and so 2 of his minds were fighting. Like one was the Cyberman mind, the other was the
doctor mind.
And she said, "How do I know it's you? Tell me something only the doctor would say to me." He said, "Well, you're beautiful." And then later on, he gets his mind back, and she said, "Did you really mean?" And wait, no. Before that, she slaps him,
right,
and says, "You're not the real doctor." And then later,
because he said she was beautiful.
And then later, she says, "Did you really mean that?" And he said, "Of course not. That was my cyborg side."
Right.
Like, yeah, of course not.
So mean.
So the whole idea of the episode from this point is he's talking about how everybody has the same dream. That there's something under the bed. They get awoken and a hand reaches out and grabs their ankle.
But we all agreed. Molly, have you ever had that dream?
No.
I have not had that dream.
I've had a very similar dream. But I don't usually get nightmares. But I
have not had the dream specifically.
I think I've had that dream or something similar where I sat up and something grabbed my ankle. So when I was watching
it was probably your father because
that was probably
he was
real.
Psychotic. Okay.
Right. But yeah, that seemed...
Shout out to Boompa.
Yeah, that seemed like one that I have seen or that I've had.
They listen.
Yeah. So that's what he wants to do.
His torture. He knows.
That's what he wants to do. He wants to find out what it is that's under that bed because he believes it's something real. And he says, okay.
In the doctor's case, it was Clara.
Spoiler!
She reached under and grabbed it.
But he has Clara go into the TARDIS telepathic interface, and it's going to go within her timeline.
Oh,
yeah, she sticks her fingers in this thing, and he goes, "Ooh, if something bites, just let it do it." But it's going to go within her timeline, or within something important to her. And he thinks it's going to go to where she first had this dream, because he goes, "Oh, I want to see what's under the bed." But instead, they go to Rupert Pink.
Danny Pink.
Which is Danny, right. And he's like, "Oh, is he important to you?" Now, I want to talk about this, too.
She lies through the whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yes, but I want to talk about this, too. Well, maybe I should talk about it later when we get to Orson, because I have another...
Which makes me want to talk about Mork and Mindy.
I have it... Oh, who doesn't want to talk about Mork and Mindy?
Earth calling Orson. Orson.
Shazbot. Molly, you're just staring into space, huh?
Oh, I love that show!
Yeah,
Yep, see,
Molly
gotcha.
That show, yeah.
So, okay. I will tell what I think about it later. We'll kind of continue with this.
Oh, it's Mort calling Orson, not Earth calling.
Yeah, it's not Earth.
Mort calling Orson.
See, it was called Mork and Mindy, not
no,
Earth
I
and
know,
Mindy.
but I was thinking.
So, okay. So this is where she goes in and she meets Rupert and she knows he's Danny.
Of course.
And then the thing like sits on the bed and pushes it down and there's something there. That's why I'm saying there was something
But
there.
I did love when she said, look, it's just me under the bed. Having watched the episode backwards,
Yeah.
it cracked me up.
I know,
was like,
because it was her.
Yeah, no, I love. She said, she said, there's only one thing under the bed. And he's like, what? And he's all scared. And she's like, me. And then she hops under.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. That thing, if it had been another student or whatever playing a joke, it wouldn't have been so silent. It wouldn't have come up behind them and started to pull the thing off. Come on. Come on.
It wouldn't have disappeared like that.
This was whatever is under the bed. It's just their interpretation of it wasn't accurate yet. I have a feeling there's going to be another episode when this is going to happen. And now that it's like, there's no reason to be scared, he's going to realize, oh yes, there is. Because when they were on the end of time with Orson and they were saying something's coming in and the airlock was opening, there was something coming in. What do you think? Do you think there was something coming in? Because he kept saying, well, it could be pressurization, it could be this, could be that.
So
I think
all of our efforts to not freak out our child, and you're doing this now.
because what was scary in the episode turned out to be Clara.
Right, which she should be taking with her for the rest of her life, and instead you're going, no, there's actually something under there.
No, but I'm saying that what's under there...
There is nothing under your bed.
No, but what I'm saying is on the show, it's not that it's going to be something scary under there. I'm saying that they were he was interpreting it as something scary, but whatever this thing that is watching, it's just like the silence. It's something there. The silence they see and then they forget it's there. This thing is probably something that's just hiding, like he said. But if it's just hiding, it's not interacting with him. The only thing that interacted was Clara, right? So no reason to be scared of it. But he's going to be right that there is some other creature that's able to do this. Because even when they were the most vulnerable and they were facing away from it, what did it do?
Nothing.
It just came out back behind
But I think that it wanted to communicate with them, which is why it came up behind them. I have a feeling we're going to find out that this is not a scary thing at all. Now that his fears have been
loved it. He took my bed sheet. Oh, the human race. They always complain.
Right.
Yeah, they took your bed sheet.
Exactly.
You have to complain.
So another important thing happened here. Clara gave Danny, Rupert, something. What did she give him?
Toys?
Yeah, and she gave him the one that was the colonel that didn't have a gun, right? And why did she say he's the colonel?
Because he didn't have a gun. He's so tough, he doesn't need a gun.
Right.
He's the one in charge. He just delegates.
And she says, what are you going to name him? And what did he name him?
He named him Dan.
Dan the Soldier Man.
And she's like,
Yeah, because that's what he ends up calling himself. Because he said he didn't like the name Rupert, right?
He's like, I'm going to change it.
Now, this is another important thing.
What? I'm all ears.
That toy. Now, she gave him that toy and all that happened. Later on, I'm going to jump ahead. So then we meet Orson. Orson is obviously Danny's great-grandson because he says, my great-grandfather, there was something.
Who else is?
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Clara's.
You believe that?
Oh, heck yeah. And he said, why do you look familiar? Do I know you?
Okay, I'm going to tell you why it's not Clara. I think you're right. I think they were misleading us. I think we were supposed to think that it is Clara. And she definitely thinks that she's his great-grandmother, right? But a couple of things happened with Clara and Orson and the doctor. First of all, he says she finds the toy that Orson's carrying the toy, and he says it's a family heirloom, right? So we're supposed to assume, Clara. But no, that would have come from Danny.
Yes.
Right, but they were together.
Maybe.
Together.
Maybe. Hold on. When he says, I didn't Do you know what I'm going to say?
with everything you're doing.
Wait, go
Do you know
ahead.
what I'm going to say,
What
Molly?
What's he going to
No,
say?
you say it.
Okay.
But if you know, why won't you tell us?
I know, but I probably am so far off.
Well,
Okay.
let's
Well, what do
hear
you
it.
think?
I think that you're about to say that he's the doctor's great-great-grandson.
Oh,
Because
no,
the
no.
doctor had it. Because Clara gave it to him.
You know what? You're right. Okay, so you're right. At the very end, Clara, who was with the doctor as a little boy, gave him that toy.
Uh-huh.
That could be why this toy is still there. So we don't know if Danny's the one that gave him the thing. I'm assuming it came from Danny, that it's an heirloom from that. But the doctor could have been the one that gave it to Dan later. Because we don't know that Dan now... We've seen Dan on a date with Clara, right?
Yes.
But we don't know that he still even has that toy. But the doctor was there in that room. He's going to piece it together that was Dan at some point. And Dan is definitely going to be time traveling with the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's why I say that there's a chance that it's not Clara and Dan. Because Orson clearly said... there's stories about one of my grandparents or my great-grandparents.
We're time travelers.
So
it could have been Dan.
If Dan ends up on the TARDIS traveling with the doctor, that would be one great-grandparent that traveled. So we don't know if he is. If he doesn't, then we could say it's Clara. But if he does travel with the doctor and Orson says it's one grandparent, Clara's a time traveler also. Why would it only be one?
Right. So then it would mean they were together, but they didn't marry.
Right. So that could be a possibility. And the reason that is such an important piece is because that was Clara and the doctor, and it was this time. Okay? So that could be it. The other reason I say that I think that it's not going to be Clara is the first thing he says when Orson sees Clara is he says to Clara, he's like, why would he be important in your timeline? And then he says, do you have any pictures of her from your past? Maybe when she was heavier and old.
Yeah, he's like, she was, what did he say about
He
her?
said, any fat pictures of her?
Right. And Orson says, like, he looks completely confused. He goes, no. Wouldn't he have pictures? I mean, I don't care if it's 100 years from now. People will have pictures. It's not like if we go back 100 years and it's like, wow, it's kind of rare to have a picture of our ancestors.
Right.
Our computer's filled with thousands of pictures of us.
Well, of Molly.
Well, yeah. But those will survive.
Our
Those
little
will
role
go
model.
on. People 200 years from now will be able to look at pictures of us from now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's just how it is. So the fact that he doesn't have pictures of Clara...
Unless there's a zombie apocalypse or something, or like that EMP thing where all the grid goes down.
Right, the EMP would do it, but a zombie apocalypse would.
And then,
they could eat
all the pictures.
if that happened,
computers.
how could in 100 years them get to the point that they're actually sending them up to time travel?
Right, I'm just saying.
All right.
That's my only theory, that I could see where we wouldn't have pictures.
No,
in 100 years.
Okay, I'll go with it. So I really think that they were giving us all sorts of clues here about Clara and Dan. And about whatever this thing
and
was.
how
That was
cool
on the
was
bed.
it to get to see the doctor as a little kid? I never saw that coming, not in a million trillion years.
No.
Did I think we would ever see him as a normal
So, Molly,
child?
let's talk about that scene. Where was he?
He was in the barn.
What is it about that barn?
Did you freak?
Yes, it's the barn that the war doctor went to in our first episode.
Right, in our first episode, but
Yeah.
it was the 50th anniversary episode.
Uh-huh.
That's where he goes and makes the decision whether he's going to push
With
the
the bad
big
wolf.
red button and kill all the Daleks.
What does she say?
So what is...
No more.
Right? So that's
I
where
didn't
that...
even let you finish your sentence because I was so excited.
That's where all that happened. Was right there in that barn.
Uh-huh.
So when we saw that, we had no
you're
idea.
gonna come back to that. She said to him, "You're gonna come back to this barn."
Yes, and make a big decision. But when we saw that, I remember when we saw that and he went to that barn, it was like,
That was weird.
Why are they at this barn? What is going on?
I remember thinking that too. Like, why are they at this random barn?
But now we know.
That was the barn he used to sleep in as a little boy.
Right. Now, there was a lot of stuff said there, too, when the two came
need
in.
To sleep in there? Yeah, why did you do that?
Yeah, because he
It's
had
like one of
loving
those
people.
food issues in our shows.
Right.
He had loving.
Now, were those his parents? Did they ever
No.
say they were parents? So he's an orphan.
Yeah, but they, but they were. And they said, "Come and sleep with the other boys."
Right. So who
And
are the other
everything.
boys? Were they soldiers? Is that why he's so weird about soldiers?
Mhm.
Or, like, did they pick on him?
Oh, they're soldiers because he.
Are any of them Time Lords?
Yes, of course. They're in Gallifrey.
Well, he's a Time Lord, but they said he's, the dad or the guy said, well,
He'll
he's
never
not going to make it. Right.
But didn't everybody die? Isn't he the only one left?
Not anymore. Maybe he didn't see Day of the Doctor, but he didn't blow him up.
Oh yeah.
They sent Gallifrey into another dimension, so they're all there still.
Uh-huh.
Somewhere.
Right.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
But where he would have killed them if they had been killed was when the War Doctor was there.
Uh-huh.
So what about all that before? Were these guys, I wonder about these guys. Are we going to meet his, we'll call them brothers?
Mhm.
Are any of them Time Lords? Are we going to find out that the Master or the Salamander or somebody is one of them?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I think
it's the master of all of them.
Do ya?
It would be the master, because I'm not sure the Salamander's a Time Lord.
Yeah, because the Time Lords aren't siblings. They're just like people that have reached this level and been trained to be Time Lords.
Mhm.
So that's what he is. But he's kind of a rogue one.
What's a rogue mean?
He kind of does his own thing and kind of broke the rules, and that's why he was the only one floating around out there.
Okay.
So, wow. I mean, this just, I remember I was reading about it when the 50th happened, and they were going to have the Day of the Doctor, the one where the last Doctor basically dies and turns into Peter Capaldi, and they were saying he can't regenerate because, and then the Gallifreys gave him extra lives. So we have no idea how many times he can regenerate now. There's no limit. But when all that was happening, I was reading about the show, and I think it was Stephen Moffat was saying, what you're going to see now is going to propel us for the next 50 years. It's him looking for Gallifrey, trying to save his entire race because he did save them, but he wants to get the Time Lords back. And after thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, is that what this is? Are we getting seeds planted that we've got Missy?
Mhm.
We've got, obviously, hints about the Master getting thrown around here because we keep talking about him.
Well,
And
Salamander.
now the Salamander popped up. And do we know, are we going to see, is there going to be more stuff with these boys, with these parents?
Well, and
why aren't they doing a young Doctor Who series?
the Doctor in this.
Isn't this a young one for kids?
No, I mean with the
No,
kid.
with a young Doctor.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'd
Before
be
he's a
so
Kind of like
Doctor.
Smallville before he has his powers.
Oh, that'd
But-
be awesome. Because it's the little kid doctor walking around with the companions.
Yep.
Fully grown.
So
Fully grown companions. It'd be awesome.
the other thing is that you guys talked over my thought. No, I don't remember what I was going to say.
That happens.
That happens.
The other thing is that during this episode, the Doctor said, "Oh, where is it going?" And he's like, "Oh, the Promised Land." He's like, "There it is again."
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That
And
was
we know the
weird.
Promised Land is where Missy says she is. But did you notice the Promised Land? No, that wasn't in this episode.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Just before we watched this episode, we watched that little bit of Robot of Sherwood,
Oh yeah,
and it was in
that
there.
one.
But we didn't talk about this in that episode. He says in that episode, there's the Promised Land.
Mhm.
And it
I
didn't...
think we did talk about that.
Did we? Well, it
Yeah.
didn't strike me.
But he said not as much as this time, and it said, "There it is again." When he said
Here's
that,
why
it's like,
Here's why it struck me.
mhm.
It was clearly a planet. Clearly. And one thing I've also been hearing is they keep saying those calculations he's writing, like maybe that's leading to this Promised Land. I don't think so.
You
He had
just said
coordinates.
that in the last episode.
Did I say that?
Yes.
So that's where I heard it was from me. Then it was genius.
Oh my! You're like the doctor now.
But he had, when he saw the planet on there and it said the Promised Land, obviously that has coordinates and everything. That calculation can't be leading him there. It's something else.
Mhm.
But the Promised Land, where Missy is a planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that answered that question. Whether, I mean, that one went by us so quickly, we didn't even catch it. But I really think he's going to go to whatever that planet is because it keeps popping up. And that's when that story is going to crack open.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
So, are we done? Did we get it all in?
I think so.
I think so.
Did you have a favorite scene you wanted to bring up?
Or a favorite line? Or anything?
No.
No? No favorite scene?
Well, not that we haven't talked about already. Right?
Yeah, we've really talked them out. For me, it was
Oh, yeah.
the doctor as a kid and the thing on the bed. I thought those were just amazing.
I wonder why you didn't get to see his face.
Because it's got to have mystery.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. He's regenerated so many times, and we wouldn't have any idea what he would look like.
Yeah.
We would know that he's a little crybaby because he kept crying in that bed, didn't he?
Well, and then when Clara comes back and she said, there is nothing under the bed. It's just a doctor who's afraid of the dark or something.
Right.
He just looked at her like, where have you been?
Yeah.
Where
How do
did
you know?
Go? How do you know about me?
Yep. But see, once again, I think that that's a good thing. Now he knows he doesn't have to be afraid of the dark. Now he can actually investigate, what is this? Mm-hmm. This is something.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason to be scared if you take that element out of it. Mm-hmm. Now he can go, there is something that hides. It's not harming us. It's not interacting with us. The only thing that interacted with me was Clara.
Yeah.
Who you should be afraid of. The impossible girl.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it with her?
I would be scared if I heard like a hissing and then I got out of bed and all of a sudden a hand grabbed my ankle.
Yeah.
I'd scream and run.
Who wouldn't?
I would run down here to your room.
None of them ran.
No.
They all just sat there.
Right. They all just sat there.
And got back into bed.
Right.
Which is where I like that.
Well, we didn't see what happened to the other ones. He said those were nightmares. For him, he got back in bed because Clara said, just get back in bed. This is just a dream.
Uh-huh.
Just get back in bed. And then she sat there and said to him what the doctor said to Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Stroked his hair. And...
So I'm just...
Which would have freaked me out worse than the grabbing of my ankle.
You know what? Tonight...
Whatever the thing was under my bed started stroking my hair.
Tonight in the middle of the night, I'm going to just start stroking your hair. And we're going to see how you react.
No, I'm going to
I don't think you want to know.
No.
I'm going to do a hissing sound. You're going to start stroking your hair. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to grab her ankle.
Yes,
you know what?
do it.
I wear socks to bed because that gives me armor so that nothing can grab my ankles.
Excellent.
That's
excellent.
I just pulled your socks
There's
down.
some advice for all you kids.
Just put socks on and you'll be fine.
That's right. It's like pulling the sheets over your head. Same thing. And the doctor did it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's end it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I am excited for next week. It's going to be a caper. It's a caper.
What's a caper?
It's a caper. It's going to be like a bank robbery.
Like the Great Muppet Caper.
Yes.
The Great Muppet Caper.
Haven't you seen that one?
Huh?
You haven't seen that one?
No.
We're going to have to... It's going to be an episode of Geek My Kid. We're going to have to watch The Great Muppet Caper. I think it's going to happen.
What even is a Muppet Caper?
You'll see. It's a diamond heist.
A diamond heist.
Yes. So you can find past episodes of this and all of our other podcasts, including Next Stop Everywhere, our companion Doctor Who podcast, which is so much fun to listen to. Our Uncle Cast, yes. You can also find Ever After, which is our show where we talk about Once Upon a Time, which, if you're a fan of this, good chance you're a fan of that. So please listen, rate us, review us, find us on iTunes. You can find all the episodes plus our social media at our website, which is
www.southgatemediagroup.com.
And that's it, everybody. Until next week,
Alonzi!
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.